All right, everybody. Tonight I prayed that this video would help somebody. So, if this video is finding you, chances are you're hurting in some way right now. Same. And I pray that this video helps you tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, whenever you find it. Literally the first card out. Okay, we have the Tower and the Two of Cups. So I'm gonna let the cards speak for a little bit before I start to interpret things here. But if you know the first thing about tarot, then you probably already know what this message is saying to you. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we have the Tower, the Two of Cups, Page of Cups reversed, and the Devil. I'm gonna continue to let the cards speak because what a wild time, man. What a wild time to be alive. What a time to be alive and to be an American. This is abnormal. Wow. I just feel, I'm just laughing because this is too weird. So 4 cards came out at the same time. I don't really like to read when a chunk of cards comes out at the same time. Jesus. So, like, what could I even say? We have the Tower with the Two of Cups, the Page of Cups reversed, the Devil, the Hierophant, and the Knight of Cups. So, yeah. I feel like this is somebody who has just gone through a major revelation in the realms of the heart. Like, you had to break it off with somebody, or somebody broke things off with you, which caused, like, a major new chapter in your healing journey. Because, like, listen, just to give a little of my own connection to this realm of stuff, like, I am in recovery from drugs and alcohol. I just celebrated 7 years sober. And now my healing focus is turning to matters of the heart. You know, it's been 7 years since I've had a drink. And obviously when you are an addict or an alcoholic, your drug and alcohol use is merely a symptom of much more pain. So it seems that the focusing light of my recovery and healing journey these days is really directing me to the realms of the heart. And what do you know? When I go to make videos for you guys, relationship readings keep coming up. I've said this many times in my healing circles. Nothing on earth, nothing in life pulls my wounding up more than romantic relationships. You know, it brings up mom stuff, dad stuff, childhood stuff, teenage years stuff, abuse and neglect, sexual trauma that I've experienced. And romantic relationships touch on all this stuff. Boundaries, attachment styles, man, these are very thick things. And the other side of that coin is that there is a lot of potential for healing. You know, if we want to look at it in a positive way, there's a lot of potential and material for healing in the realms of romantic relationships. Because, you know, you can practice celibacy for a very long time, and there's a lot of healing, of course, that can be done in celibacy. But as I've discussed with my friends in recovery as well, it's like at some point the rubber's got to meet the road a little bit. You got to like get in space with other people romantically, have these things come up and heal them in real time. Because celibacy and in extreme cases like isolation of yourself, all of which I have vast experience with. Interesting. I accidentally left one card in the box, and it's the King of Wands reversed, so that's a message for somebody. Yeah, so isolating oneself and being in celibacy is extremely healing and beautiful, but there's only so much healing of relationship stuff that can be done in isolation, right? Eventually, you got to get into a relationship and watch your attachment style play itself out. And watch your dad stuff and mom stuff come up. And your, you know, lack of boundaries. So that you can see where your boundaries aren't and develop them, or where your boundaries are too rigid and see that happen, you know? So what I'm seeing in these cards is that something has happened for you in the realms of relationship that is allowing you to actually do alchemy and heal, and really with compassion and softness and warmth and love, look at what came up for you and do something about it, you know? some kind of fracture in a relationship, whether it was your doing or their doing, caused the tower moment, made you feel like the rug was pulled out from under you, and made you go really deep within and look at your wounds, your addictions to people. I get it. I know. I'm right there right now, guys, too. Trust me. Man. Yeah, I feel really called to share something, a revelation that I just made recently in my own healing journey about somebody that left my life a few years ago, who until about 5 days ago I was convinced was my twin flame, the one that got away, my ultimate soulmate, my twin flame. Something happened recently that really opened my eyes to places that I can heal in the realms of relationship. And I had kind of like this white light moment about this person that I thought was my twin flame from a few years ago. So this person, we'll call him fucking Goofball. So Goofball and I were communicating over text for about a year before we met in person. And when we met in person and we sat together for the first time and I looked in his eyes, I felt this distinct feeling of home. Like I had known this person my whole life. And that is an incredibly powerful feeling. And many, many conversations and moments that this man and I had with each other over the course of our very short relationship only solidified the fact that I had known this person my whole life. We were twin flames. He was fucking perfect for me. He felt so familiar. Everything was just like, And then he disappeared from my life very abruptly. And, I'm not gonna blame anything on either one of us. I think we were, both two wounded people who still had a lot of stuff to work through, but like I just had this white light moment about him a few days ago where I was like, he felt like home because he felt like my mom and dad. He felt like I'd known him my whole life because he felt like a dysregulated nervous system in me. He felt familiar because he felt like an inconsistent, unpredictable source of love, like I had always had through childhood and teenage years and my whole life. So that was very, and of course we also had like a really dope connection between us too. And we love a lot of the same things and we have the same sense of humor, and there was really actually a magical connection between us. But also like a lot of what was happening was that he fit perfectly into my disorganized attachment style. Because on some level, to my little amygdala and my nervous system, he reminded me of my primary caregivers. And that felt like a revelation. So what do we do with that? What do we do now that we see the patterns before us? What do we do now that we see, okay, this is why I keep attracting the same type of people. This is why I feel safe with people who I know are actually unsafe. Goddamn. And what do I do about it? When you find out, let me know. I mean, we can definitely do practices every day. And in dysregulated moments, we can do practices where we soothe our nervous system, breathing, sleeping enough, meditating, doing yoga, moving our bodies, eating appropriate foods and lowering caffeine and nicotine and all this stuff. We can do things to regulate our nervous system so that we get used to the feeling of peace, and chaos doesn't feel so sexy and attractive anymore. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I don't have all the answers, but I will say, as a person who's been on a very intense healing journey for many years, I do know some stuff. I'm trained as a Reiki master. I'm trained as a yoga teacher. I'm familiar with the nervous system, at least peripherally, and how to calm it. But goddamn, this is some thick stuff. This is some really heavy duty stuff that we're on here, guys. So the appearance of the Hierophant tells me that there are healing modalities and communities and really healthy things that you can sink your teeth into in this healing from this person, healing from this situation, that are available to you. Maybe it's a healthy spiritual community. Maybe it's religion for you. Maybe it's Buddhist practices. But the Hierophant speaks to tradition, not needing to do everything on your own, because there's already some kind of traditional, this is the way we do things, step by step kind of things that you can rest into with this healing process. And funny enough, we have the Knight of Cups at the end, which represents to me your healthy higher self coming in to save you. Because at the end of the day, you know that God and the universe has your back. You know that you have your own back. You know that nothing in this situation is actually out of place, and that if we can make it so, everything happens for a higher purpose. If we can make it so, right? Things don't just happen to torture us. This person is no longer in your life because they weren't supposed to be there. And whatever was triggered up in you by this situation, it was supposed to be triggered up. It was supposed to be brought into your consciousness at this time. Damn. So I hope you can find a little bit of peace in that. I really hope you can find a little bit of peace in that last message. And really take care of yourself in this time and know that everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. And I think if you're really honest with yourself and very probing about this person who's just left your life, he's not a vibrational match with your highest self. I'm sure there's at least a few things that you could list that you would change about him. But, you know, when somebody gets you high because they trigger your fight or flight, they trigger those dopamine reward and like deprivation systems. That's very powerful, but that's a pattern we're out here breaking. So take care of yourself, take a nice bath, and be really proud of yourself. Because you're out here. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.